Brock Bowers was a 4-star recruit by ESPN and a 4-star recruit by 24/7 Sports. He was the 4th best tight end in his class. Here, wait 1 second. Let me take off my coat here. This is about to get serious, all right? This kid's the real deal, if you will, you know? Alrighty, here we go. He was the 4th tight end in his class by ESPN and the 3rd by 24/7 Sports. He had offers from Notre Dame, offers from Michigan, and LSU, but ultimately, of course, decides to pick the Georgia Bulldogs. Okay? And on the Georgia Bulldogs team, Brock Bowers led the way in every receiving category this season with 46 catches, roughly 800 yards, and 11 scores. But who was he facing? You know what I'm saying? Who was he competing for targets with? Well, thanks for asking. Ladd McConkey was second on the team in everything with just 28 catches, just 430 yards, and just 5 scores. Ladd McConkey, no slouch, a 3-star as well, okay? But he had nearly half of what Brock Bowers did across the board. Brock Bowers nearly doubled every player on his team in every receiving category. But wait, there is more, okay? Brock Bowers, the tight end, outproduced Jermaine Burton, who was 3rd on the team in receiving, who is a 4-star recruit and a top 100 recruit, with offers from Alabama, Florida, Georgia, and LSU, among others. He stands 6'1", 190, and ran a 4.43 coming out of high school. A very coveted, very talented player, but he put up just 23 catches for 400 yards and 4 scores. Adandai Mitchell was next up on the list. He was a 3-star recruit with offers from Baylor and Auburn, but he put up just 23 catches for just 342 yards and just 4 touchdowns. Once again, Brock Bowers, the tight end, dominating him in everything. The 5th leading pass catcher, who was not a running back, was Kiera Jackson. Okay, but he's not just any pass catcher. He was a 4-star, the 4th receiver in his class overall, number 38 on the big board, okay? He was the 38th recruit overall out of everybody in his entire class. Very, very, very talented with offers from anywhere. He could go anywhere he wanted to, but somehow he puts up just 14 catches for less than 200 yards and 1 score this year, getting demolished by Brock Bowers and company, okay? But moving one step further, that's very, 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 very impressive considering Georgia was a top team all year and is a top team every year. And Brock Bowers was just him on the team, right? But let's take it a step further. It gets a little more cool, right? So, Brock Bowers was PFF's 2nd graded tight end in college football before the SEC title game was graded. He stood only behind Trey McBride, okay? Brock Bowers, the freshman, was the 2nd graded tight end behind senior Trey McBride, who is PFF's 63rd overall player this year. In this draft class, the tight end won and is 22 years old and from Colorado State. Brock Bowers, the freshman, was just decimal points in grading on a pay-by-pay basis behind Trey McBride, a projected 2nd-round pick, 22-year-old from Colorado State, okay? That says a lot about my boy Brock Bowers, right? But let's take it one step further. Let's look at this game I was talking about, you know what I'm saying? This SEC title game, right? Well, in this game, Bowers did pretty well. He put up 16 targets. 16 targets for 10 catches, 139 yards, and 1 score. A monstrous outing from my boy Brock Bowers, okay? But who was 2nd on the team in receiving, you might ask? Well, of course, it was George Pickens with a mere 5 targets for 2 catches, 41 yards, and 0 touchdowns. Pickens, no slouch either. Perhaps the biggest no slouch of the entire group. He put up, coming into college, being recruited, he was a 4-star recruit, the 6th receiver in his class, and the 54th overall player by ESPN. But wait, there's more. He was a 5-star recruit, considered by 24/7 Sports composite score, and the 24th player nationally, okay? George Pickens was once Reggie Hughes' top receiver in this class. He will be in the NFL and perhaps an elite talent. However, he had 11 less targets than Brock Bowers in the SEC title game versus the behemoth Alabama. Okay? But wait, there's more. This is perhaps the coolest thing you'll see all day. Alrighty? Listen up. Brock Bowers compares favorably to every tight end season in the history of college football. Don't believe me? Well, Let's look at them. Let's look at all the good tight ends that have ever been in college, right? Mike Ditka. In Mike Ditka's 3 years in college, he had less catches, less receiving yards, and less touchdowns than Brock Bowers did in his freshman year. Tony Gonzalez, as a freshman, had just 8 catches, and as a junior, Tony Gonzalez had just 44 catches for 700 yards rather, and 5 touchdowns, just third on his team in receiving. Brock Bowers, as a freshman, number 1 on his team in receiving, and it's not even close. Tony Gonzalez, as a junior, third on his team in receiving. Jason Witten, as a freshman, right? Okay, 1 catch. Jason Witten, in his best year ever as a junior, okay, he doesn't even lead the team in receiving, and there's 2 people. It's kind of like a 3-headed monster, but Jason Witten is not that dude, right? He puts up less than 40 catches, less than 500 yards, and just 5 scores. He gets demolished by Brock Bowers as a freshman. Kellen Winslow, right? Miami. Well, on that great team, he had just 2 catches as a freshman. And in his best season, he didn't even lead the team in receiving yards because he had just 57 catches for 700 yards and 8 scores. So in Kellen Winslow's best season, he was worse than Brock Bowers as a freshman. Okay, moving on. Gronk as a freshman puts up a very, very actually impressive 28 catches for 500 yards and 6 scores, but once again is just third on the team in receiving. And Gronk, in his very best year, puts up the same amount of catches for less yards and less touchdowns, and doesn't even lead the team in receiving. So Gronk, he can't compete with Brock Bowers either. Okay, but moving on once again to another great player, Travis Kelsey. Okay, as a freshman at Cincinnati, a very small school at the time, Travis Kelsey has just 1 catch his entire freshman year. And as a junior, Travis Kelsey has less catches, less receiving yards, and less touchdowns than Brock Bowers did at Georgia as a freshman. Okay. Moving on to George Kittle, okay, the absolute stud behemoth that he is in the NFL. Okay, well, in college, right, George Kittle, in his 4 years, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 years at Iowa, George Kittle had just 48 catches for 700 yards and 10 scores. He can't compete with freshman Brock Bowers. Nobody can. Kyle Pitts, that guy, you know him? As a freshman, Kyle Pitts had 3 catches. And in his 10th place Heisman year as a junior, Kyle Pitts had less catches, less receiving yards, and just 1 more touchdown than Kyle Pitts did, while being second on his team in receiving behind Kadarius Toney. There's an argument to be made that by a market share standpoint, Brock Bowers was better as a freshman than Kyle Pitts was when he was 10th in the Heisman and went on to be the 4th pick in the NFL draft. As PFF says it, he is piecing together one of the most impressive true freshman campaigns of the PFF college era. And after saying all this, after comparing him favorably to every season in the history of college football, you're probably like, well, I mean, there's something wrong with him, right? He's probably old. And the answer is no, because Brock Bowers has yet to turn 19 years old. Brock Bowers put up perhaps the greatest season in the history of receiving tight ends, college football history. The greatest one ever, as an 18-year-old freshman at the best school in the country with great competition. He's special.